Hey everybody. Happy self-isolating. Yay. We, of course, now are at a stay-at-home order. So if you're not day drinking, something's wrong with you. I don't know. I'm just kidding. This is actually, I just poured this because I feel like we could all relate to this is kind of how we all feel. Just sitting at home and figuring out what the hell to do because, like, how many videos on white trash people can we actually watch? And the answer is a lot. Like, that Tiger King was crazy, and so were the whites of West Virginia. Like, what? So, yeah. Wow, apparently there is a lot of trashy videos out there. Anyway, moving on past that, we have been talking about other things, like how to make money in real estate without putting your own money up and without utilizing your credit. Even if you don't have any of either, you can still move forward with purchasing property. So today, the concept I would like to discuss is owner financing. So basically, with owner financing, the owner is your bank. So you're not going to go to a bank and get a loan. You're not going to use your cash. You're going to use the owner. Here's a little example. So when I was a kid, I used to always come up with ideas of like business. Business was what I played. Other people played school. I played work. So I sold Merlite jewelry door to door, catalog jewelry door to door when I was a child. When I was like third grade. So I set up like some community yard sale once, which backfired in my face. And the way that backfired was I had all my friends donate their stuff they didn't want to me, like a charity. And then I sold it back to them or like to the other kids in the neighborhood. And then they all started fighting about that was theirs in the first place. And my dad made me give them the money, and that wasn't fun. So the next year I had this new plan. And the new plan was instead, I was going to get with my friends and get them to tell me, or to, again, donate their stuff. But instead of me holding a yard sale, I made a deal with them first off. I was like, hey, I'll sell it. We each get half of the money. It's your thing. I'm selling it. So we'll get half the money. And then I took a picture with my friend Michelle's Polaroid, and because this was the 80s and that's what we did. And I put it in, like, I glued it to the page of like a notebook and like wrote a price on it and went door to door and sold these items. And then as the items sold, I picked it up from my friend. I took it to the person's house and got the money and then split the money with my friend. So we made money like that. And we were always doing something like that. Now, what does that have to do with anything? Basically, I ran a catalog store without any inventory because the inventory was given to me by my friends, and they financed my inventory to me without charging me until I made a profit. So how does that work with owner financing? So with that, basically, again, owner financing is where an individual becomes your bank instead of a bank being your bank or you being your own bank, meaning cash. So with that, what's going to happen is you're going to make payments directly to an individual for the price of the house, and they are going to be happy to receive that. Now, the benefits to you are you don't have a lot of cash that you're coming out of pocket up front. You don't have a lot of credit that you're going to have to provide. There's a lot of flexibility in it. The downside of that is that there's typically going to be a balloon because most people do not want to just receive a payment from you for 30 years. So there's typically going to be a balloon, and typically it's anywhere between 2 and 10 years is average. I mean, I've seen them go up to 20 years. I've heard rumors about 30 years. I've never seen that in real life. But so so the downside is you're going to have a balloon on this. So this is not going to be a forever property typically unless you cash it out, which is absolutely part of the plan a lot of the time. So the benefit to the seller, of course, is that they are able to get a monthly residual income for a property. They are able to have, they don't have to worry about collecting rent because you're just making that payment. They don't have to worry about vacancy. They don't have to worry about taxes or insurance. They don't have to worry about maintenance or repairs. So basically to them, it's easy. They're just literally just going to get a check and each month, which is great. So a lot of people that really like that are people that are supplementing their income, people that have property that's paid for. A lot of people really like to make that type of property into a self-directed IRA. So it makes money each month, makes money each month, makes money each month. And then at the end, like when they're planning to retire, they've set up that to end, that term to end at that point. So let's say you're retiring in 15 years, you set it for a 15-year term. And at the end of that time, you now have a lump sum, plus you've been feeding into it each month with a monthly income. So some of these are interest only, which of course means that your payment is lower, but you're not paying it down at all. And then some of these have zero interest and it's 100% principal, and then everything in between. You get to negotiate your terms to whatever it is you want those terms to be. So as we talked about, the type of buyer, not buyer, but seller, sorry, that typically is wanting to work with you is going to be a person who owns a property free and, or they are going to be a person that owns a property free and clear. There's other ways if they don't, and we've gone into some of those, but there's other ways to do that, but this is not one. So when you have, so you need a person that does not have a mortgage on their property. Then you're going to also look for somebody who likes the idea of a residual income, or somebody who is frustrated with the property and they just need to get out from under it, or they want to get out from under it. So a lot of times, say for example, somebody inherits a property and it hasn't been taken care of. It's just been deteriorating over time. And now they have like this big headache instead of something that's going to work for them. That's great for you as an investor. This is something that you're able to, potentially work with them on making monthly payments, and they, will probably really appreciate that. Another person, also like we talked about, would be somebody who really loves the idea of that monthly income. That's great. Somebody who wants more than the value of their property, you can still work with owner financing on that, especially if they're willing to take a 0%, so they're willing to do a principal only payment, and of course you don't say 0%, instead you would market them as like, hey, I can, if you don't mind getting the principal in terms, like getting a payment on it each month on the amount, I can go ahead and give you X that you're looking for. So say, for example, the house is worth 100, they want 110, and you say, okay, over the next 15 years, I'll pay you X amount of dollars until it's paid off each, then you actually have saved the money you would have paid in interest anyway, so you might as well just go for it. Just add what you would have paid in interest right on in there and make them that offer. You're exactly where you started at. It's great. It works out perfectly, and they're usually happy like that. So you're going to find also, now, what are you going to do with it once you get it, right? You have multiple options. You can flip it. If the property is like the one we talked about before that was in kind of, bad shape and now it's just a headache, that is a property that you can flip, because you own the property, you can cash them out as long as you don't write a prepayment penalty into your contract and they don't. You can cash it out as early as you like. So you can flip that. So that actually gives you a lot of flexibility with, if you have, let's say you have $50,000 in cash, it's really difficult to buy a property to flip with $50,000 in cash, but you can buy a property like this with no cash out of pocket and then flip it with your 50 and then cash them out at the end. So that's one option. You can also always make it a rental. You can make it Airbnb. You can always do a lease purchase or an owner finance with them. If you're not familiar with that, what that looks like, when you are lease purchasing a property to someone else, you're getting thousands up front, hundreds each month, and thousands on the end. If and when they close, which typically they do not close on it, just people, life changes, they change their mind, things along those lines. But if and when they close, that's what you're going to end up with doing. So you have lots of options as to what you can do with this property. You can do anything with this property that you would do with any other property that you buy, including live in it. You can make it your house. You can live there. So literally anything that you would have done with any other property, you can do with this. A good way to find these buyers, a good way to find people that are selling their property, obviously, is you can look at public record, which everybody's told you about, like look for people that own houses free and clear. You can look for estates that have changed properties with, or that have changed owners without any money exchanging hands, things like that. Another way is just to look for people that are trying to quick sell their property, or somebody that has like a rental that has been on there for a minute. So contacting those people through, you can do it through Zillow, Craigslist, Facebook, whatever other way people are able to list their properties, for sale by owner sites, anything. So anywhere somebody's listing their property, this is a great opportunity for you to step in and just see, hey, this is something that works for everybody. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, who knows. But anyway, the total out of pocket on this, because you are closing, would be your attorney's fees and anything that your state requires that you pay. So for example, sometimes they require you to pay taxes up to the end of the year when you transfer ownership, or they might require you to pay like certain fees that are involved with recording title and things like that. Well, everybody requires you to pay fees, but what they are is dependent. Also, a lot of times in order to get this, the buyers do not plan to come, or the sellers do not plan to come to the table with any money out of pocket, and they expect you to cover all of it. But you're still not looking at a lot of money for purchasing a property. This can be anywhere between a few $100s to $3,000 or $4,000. You're really not looking at a huge chunk. And so when we think about buying property, $3,000 or $4,000 is really nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So that's a great deal, great way to go. So anyway, that's my little summary of buying a property with owner financing. And also, so cheers and keep washing your hands and staying out of public. And again, a special thanks to everybody in the medical field, everyone who's delivering our mail right now, everyone working in the restaurants, everyone who is stocking shelves and taking money, and all these wonderful things that you guys are doing. We really, really appreciate that. And honestly, I'm a little bit envious right now that you guys have an office to go to or a place to go to and work right this second. But I really appreciate everybody who's doing that. And for all of us, for the rest of us, let's keep doing our part by responsibly social distancing and day drinking. Cheers.